Big up, everybody. Good evening, good night, and good morning to some. And for those on the east side, you know what it is. For those on the west, big up to you. Good evening to you all. Hope you're having a great one. I got my buddy Drex in the building, and right now I hear that this Trinity clock needs some replacement. Send me a nice American made one, GB. That's gonna be some fun. But you know what? I had to keep push back this stream a little bit so I could get my buddy Drex in the building. I wanted to have his company and have his opinions as we get into these topics. As you know, the Premier League ratified Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and the FA approved his 25% minority stake investment. So, guys, the meter is out. Everyone has different interpretations of the dream team of signings, the dream team that's going to form the structure at Man United. Talk about, players of the likes such as, signings by Dan Ashworth, his dream signings for coming to the club, Michael Elise, among others. Guys, are we getting too giddy or are we getting exaggerated? What is really going on here, guys? Let's take it down a notch. Let's observe what's going on. Let's go through the signings made in that by Dan Ashworth throughout his career, his top 12. Let's go through the rankings of Paul Mitchell's top 10, and let's see which one might be the smarter buy because as we know, Paul Mitchell is not going to cost us 10 million. He's probably going to cost us in the region of 5 to 7 million. But we have to pay 10 million plus add-ons if we are to get this guy away from none other than Newcastle. And I'm talking about Dan Ashwood, guys, the one who's set to be front runner, prime target for Manchester United as DOF, as spoken by everyone. Take this time to smash those likes and subscribe if you're new. Don't forget to leave your comments and keep chatting. GB, I'm sorry I'm late. Big up to you, Stephanie Griffith. You know, me and Drex in the building, coming right at you guys.
All right.
Big up to everyone and big up to my brother Drex in the building. He's on this
Big up
night
to
flight
you.
from
Big up to you. Big up everybody. Big up Compose. Best. I see you. Big up Stephanie Griffey. How are we all doing? It is what? It is 8:15 p.m. here in the Atlantic region of Canada. So I say big good evening to everybody. Mark, how you doing?
I'm chilling, bro. And I'm just like, I'm not I would say I'm excited, but I'm not really excited for like Jim Ratcliffe. I'm just excited that things are taking steps forward. You know what I mean? For
No,
me, it's all about
but
the
but
progress.
you can't be saying you're not excited for Jim Ratcliffe at the same time you're excited for what he's doing. It's
No,
like
well, you see, the thing is,
mm-hmm.
the reason why I would say it in that way is because I was always hoping for full sale only. I didn't
100.
want to have the Glazers here in any capacity, but this is the way the cookie crumbled for us, if you understand what I'm saying. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, in a way, it's like I have to accept what's happening right now, and I could only accept it and move on. And the only way we could look at things is if we take time and give it time to happen, see what they do over the coming months, and I'm talking about from now until next year around this time, and then make a judgment and see if we've made impactful performance progress from now until then on. So in that way, then I'll make a judgment. But for now, I'm observing. I'm liking what I'm hearing in some instances. In some instances, I'm like, this sounds too good to be true. But in other instances, I'm kind of a little bit skeptical. I'm pretty much more interested in hearing what Omar Barada's options are. Who, if there's someone that he has in mind for to fit the structure that he has in mind as he's going to be the CEO, I'm a little bit questionable about hearing what Sir Jim wants to do because yes, he might have a good idea, and yes, his idea, his the people he might choose might be top in the category around in their field in sporting and football and whatnot. But are they the right guys to fit the mold or the already pieces that we have to our puzzle already in house? Like we already have Eric Ten Hag, we have Omar Barada. Does Dan Ashworth fit in that mold? Is he gonna come and change things? You know what I mean? Is he gonna work well with Omar Barada? These are the things that I'm more concerned about. You know what I mean? How does Omar Barada feel? I mean, everyone's saying Dan Ashwood is the top DOF in England, but if he was the top DOF, why wasn't he at Citigroup? You know what I mean? So I just thought maybe I'd talk to you about it,
You
bring up
know,
some information. Let's
yeah.
go
That
to and
just
see.
before we go, I have two sides to this coin, right? So which do you want me to start with? The good side, or the bad side?
Well, I always like the bad news first because then
Okay.
it could get better.
The bad news first is it feels like we are getting a lot of quote and unquote. I'm not gonna a lot of in quotations, best in class, right? But on the one, I'm actually on the bad news for me is, or the negative side of that is, I feel like not getting best in class is not the problem, but I feel like we're getting too much people on the extreme, if you know what I'm, in terms of we're getting a lot of top class, right? Quote and unquote again. I feel like there'll be too much chef that would end up spoiling the broth, right? So in my, like you said a while ago, like you said about some few seconds ago, what would Omar Barada's preference be? Is it a case of Omar Barada is in line with the Dan Ashworth appointment, or is it a case of Sir Brasford and Dan Ashworth, like we all know, are tight bodies, right? And big up yourself, Stephanie. They are tight bodies, and Brasford is pitching Dan Ashworth to the man himself in the person of Sir Jim, right? And Sir Jim is like, okay, you know what, Brasford, you're the man. You got me, Omar, right? Now you getting me, so I'm leaving all of that to you. So it's more like we're going to be getting a lot of top class people. I just hope it's a case of too many. Not it shouldn't be a case of too many chefs ending up spoiling the broth. But that's on the one hand. On the flip side of it, which is the positive side, is the fact that yeah, if we have all of these people, they say like minds tends to do things together, right? So if we have all of these persons having one idea and having, like, let's say, not really an idea per se, you have your own idea, I have mine, but by the time we put it on the paper, by the time we put it on the large scale, we look at it and we see, oh, it's not much different from yours. What you have in your mind's eye, it's not as bad as, it's not different from what I have in my mind's eye. So now we can actually fine tune and get a common goal. By doing so, everybody is on the same lane running, like, you know how they do this 4x400, 4x100, right? Where I have to pass the baton to the next guy and the next guy knows what he's going to do. And so I feel like that's the positive side. If all of them come together and be like, okay, by the time they start picking each person's brain and they find like, oh, we all on the same side, we all have the same idea, we all want the same goal, not because Sajim is saying this is what we want to do, but this is what they already have in them. So this is what they're bringing to the table. Let me use that word. So what are you bringing to the table? So by the time they lay everything out on the table, and it feels like, oh, Omar Brother's plan is not as different from Ashworth, because I see Ashworth as someone that will end up in the capacity of CEO, right? So in as much as people there's a downside to it, there's an upside to it, right? I just feel like, whatever comes, we don't know any of this, right? I don't know this guy in particular. I could actually read or take a clue from what he's done in the past. Is he up to what we need, or is it because of what he's working with at that time, right? So at United, will he get a more bigger frame, or will he be expanding his terms of his view? You know, when you're in a small setting, no disrespect to anybody, right? But when you're in a setting where you have to work, let's say for example, with 50 staffs, right? You think and you plan according to what you have in terms of the 50 staff. But when you move to a settings where you have about 100, 200, 1,000, then you have to now broaden your ideas. You now have to now broaden your thoughts and your vision as to suit 1,000. So maybe in a case of coming to United, we might see an upscale in his thoughts, in his performance, and the things he wants to do. That's just my two sides before we start delving into the meat of the matter. So that's just that's my take on it.
100%, bro. Totally agree. And Like I'm saying, like I'm just offering the, like I would say, the side of the this coin that's like I'm kind of skeptical.
Hmm.
I'd
No,
like to
just
see what could be done. I want to see more of a cohesive step forward rather than this guy deciding this, that guy deciding this, and then they just have to work it out. You know
no,
what I
but
mean?
one thing you should understand is taking what Compos is saying, right? Is saying we have actually. So that's one thing you should have at the back of your mind, right?
True.
Whether you be on the positive side or you be on the negative side or you're on the fence, you should have it at the back of your mind that we're actually going to have people that have football mind. They have football at the core of their thought, not people, not because if you imagine we had Motor, we had Arnold, we have had what's his name? Deadwood, sorry. Woodward, right?
Hmm.
Those guys were bankers. You could see how they were operating. They all had the like minds of money, get sponsors, try to make the commercial side of the club boom and all of that, right? But even though we knew that all three of them they didn't really have an alignment. Now, if these guys are coming in and they all have football at the base as the core of their own thing, they want to make the football better, right? Why I know they're still a businessman, but they want to make the football better than what it used to be. Then it's something that, like what Compost is saying, it's something that we should. It's an improvement. Fans should be happy about it. Fans should be expectant of what might come forth. But now the question is, like what Compost has actually asked, is how much improvement are we going to see? Right at the end of the day, we have people that wants the football to be better, but would that transform us? Would that take us to that level that we knew we once were? So it's a case of you just have to sit back and find out. You just have to sit back. I wouldn't I wouldn't fault people that might be on the skeptic side, and I wouldn't fault people that might be on the giddy side. Right? It's for giddiness, it's something new. For skepticism, is the fact that okay, some of these guys like Ashworth. I have my own doubt for Ashworth. First of all, I'm going to put it out there. I feel like if Dan Ashworth comes, those people that actually, most of us that actually want Greenwood back. Let me not just say most those people. Most of us that actually want Greenwood back. We might not see that happening. It's just a thing for me. The percentage of Greenwood not coming back if we are point down Ashworth has moved from what he was before, maybe like 40% all the way to 65 or 70. That's my take, right? But does that mean I should just look at this guy and say, oh no, it's not worth it, right? I for one never liked Paul Mitchell. I don't know why, but I just felt like Paul Mitchell hasn't done enough for me to actually. But going with Brad, what's his name? Ashworth. I'm like, you know what? I feel like Paul Mitchell would be do a better job than this guy. But they are
Well,
friends. There is friends with Bradford. He's friends with the likes of yeah, Jimmy. So
well, seeing that you're talking about Dan Ashford, let's just run into the Gimri Sport review on Dan Ashford, and let's give everyone a objective opinion so they can see for themselves his accomplishments, and let's see everyone make a decision that they can be honest with and informed about. So let me bring this to the stage. I'm going to put this front and center. Guys, let's check this out. Let's start from the top. Dan Ashworth, who is he and why is he wanted by Manchester United? Why would they want to make him the sporting director? And let's start by the article here. And it says, according Manchester United lined up a sensational approach for Newcastle sporting director Dan Ashworth with Sir Jim Ratcliffe recently acquiring a significant portion of the Red Devils. There has been talk of some significant changes being made to the club and how it's run, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. It seems like the next step will be to hire a new sporting director. According to the Daily Mail, they have identified the Newcastle man as their ideal target, could be agreed as soon as next week. Who is Dan Ashworth, though? According to Everton's own director of football, Kevin Thelwell, put The Athletic, Ashworth is the best director of football that England has ever produced. A quite significant claim. Well, let's see if
so
this claim
so
has any
so
merit
if
to it.
we pause it right there, right, you could now see why Sir Jimmy, right? You could now see why Sir Jimmy wants to go with someone like an Ashworth. To answer Compo's question, I don't think we're going to be getting Ashworth and Michel at the same time.
I think it's going to be one or the other.
It's one or the other. Michel wouldn't want to take the role of the whatchamacallit head of recruitment. That to be
That's
too.
like a substitute role, bro.
No,
That's
no,
like
no, no.
he's
That's not what.
working for Ashworth.
No,
And
he would want to be in the role of a sporting director. But so like I'm going back to that thing. I'm saying you could now see why Jimmy is going for a person of Dan Ashworth, right? The best that according to what the Everton CEO is saying,
I mean,
one of the best that. So if somebody's actually saying that, right? You could see why. But yet
let's
again,
see what
who's yeah, let's see what
let's see what he has done
he
because,
has done,
for
yeah.
me, for them saying that he's the best, I really disagree, and I'm pretty sure others would see why. So during in 2018, during his time as technical director, he was linked with the vacant role at Old Trafford, but ultimately nothing came of it. In 2022, he took on a new role and became the sporting director of, well, we all know, Newcastle. So he also spent time with the English FA, and apparently he's done a great job. Whether it was technical or director or sporting director, Ashworth has worked with several notable clubs, first getting his start at West Bromwich Albion. He spent 5 years working as the Baggies technical director. He then spent time working with the FA. Notably, the FA has not won anything of international merit in the last decade other than the Women's Euros and the Under 21s. Now, so I'll just leave that right there. He's made a real name for himself during his time at Brighton and Hove Albion, who have spent the majority of this season in eighth position, and last season they finished sixth. So they have not won anything, right?
No,
Joining the Seagulls as
but
let
again,
me
okay,
mhm.
go ahead. Finish up. I'm going to
The
say
joining the
something.
Seagulls as a technical director in 2019, he played a significant role in the club establishing itself as a solid Premier League team. I mean, that's left to be seen, to be fair. It's been only 18 months. I can't say they're a solid team. They haven't really, challenged for a trophy or anything like that, to be fair. The excellent work they did off the pitch, building a team that could compete on it, was largely down to him. It caught the attention of Newcastle, who brought him to St. James's Park in early 2022, shortly after they were taken over. It's no surprise that he has been a huge success with the Magpies as well. Now, what is success with the Magpies? They've made Champions League football.
Yeah, that's that
They've been sitting in ninth all season
no, you can't really
from since
you can't see you
no,
can't really okay.
I'm just reading out his success.
Mm-hmm.
Huge success. For me, you have to win something, right? I don't know if success means being sixth
So
best or
if you say
ninth best.
if you say you have to win something, right? Therefore means we can actually say John Morton has done a good job because in his time we won the Carabao Cup, the
Well, I
League Cup.
mean, I've never been one person that says John Murta has not done a decent job. I think his way of doing things is not sustainable. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, look at it like this. There's He's a huge success, but none of the players he's ever signed to any of those clubs have ever won a trophy. None of them, right?
Who?
So what are you saying? What makes him a success? None of the players have won anything at any of the clubs he's been at. They haven't won a Carabao Cup. They haven't
Mm-hmm.
won a FA Cup. They haven't
Mm-hmm.
won a Premier League. They haven't won a championship.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't won anything.
But
So
look at the like I said when we started this thing, I said could it be a case of what where you are, you have to work with it, and when you move on to a bigger place, you'd have to broaden your vision and expand.
let's go. Let's look at his top 12 signings. Right, as you can see, his top 12 will include McAllister, as well as the Arsenal favorite nowadays. You know what I mean? So let's go through the list because his top 12 not only includes Karu Mitoma, Tariq Lamptey, Moises Caicedo, who was actually scouted by the United scouts and passed up on before they were able to get him at Brighton. They also scouted Mark Cucurella, Leandro Trossard, who is in the picture above, Sandro Tonali, Harvey Barnes, Tino Livramento, Sven Botman, and Alexander Isak. Anthony Gordon rounding up. And these are his 12 best signings of his career, as ranked by all the different, sporting stuff, such as Give Me Sport,
Mm-hmm.
as well as, the other article I was showing you earlier from TT Team Talk.
Mm,
So if these are his top 10, 12 signings of his career,
mm,
like, I'd be real with you and say, in all honesty, I'd probably have Isak, I'd probably have Livermento, maybe Trossard, but everyone else for me is like, they don't really start at Manchester United. I mean, unless you want to say Moises Caicedo joining our midfield in replacement of
no,
Casemiro when he
we
leaves.
we can't really say Moises Caicedo because we passed on that guy. But
Exactly.
you could actually make claims for Mitoma.
I wouldn't say that. I don't think he's as good as I really don't think Kairu Matoma is better than Marcus Rashford. And I already think Marcus Rashford is not really good enough.
No,
So
you
it's
don't.
sort of,
You don't
where is
think
he gonna play? He plays left
Mitoma?
wing.
Yeah, he plays left wing. I'm not saying we don't. We're not looking at where the player is going to buy. We're looking at business is done
Okay,
for
but business, but
with
let's be, but okay, but would you take him as a starter at Manchester United? This is
Mitoma.
what,
100%,
as a starter.
100%. Mitoma. Yeah, why
Where is
not?
he gonna start?
You asked me. I said yes, 100%. I'll
No, well,
play
I
him.
mean, I'm so I'm if he's a starter, where does he start for you? I'm just asking the question.
Of course,
I'm not
if
disagreeing with you. That's your opinion. I'm just saying.
he could go on the left, Rashford could go on the right. I'm saying because if we see may I feel like fine, maybe the class of players he's gotten might not be up there with the other ones, right? But I'm saying um I still go down to say, based on what the structure he was working at, right, he has to do what he needed to do at the time. Now it's coming to a more, though, like we've not had any good business since 2007 or 2008, right? I believe, yeah,
Mm.
it's 2008, right? But we've been in a mess. We spent money wrongly, right? We spent money like we literally took almost a billion and threw it in the fire, right? So if this guy is coming in, I feel like, yeah, with the size of United and with the pool and with his wealth of knowledge and his connection, because don't forget, you still have to have these connections, right? With his connection and all of that, right? He could come in with the likes of Ten Hag, because don't forget, one man doesn't make a team. A tree don't make a forest, right? You'd have to have
Hmm.
people with in the same, like in Brighton, we know that the sporting director, the technical director, the head of recruitment, they all come together and make the pick of the players that they want and just give it to the manager, right?
Right.
But what's my call in Newcastle, I don't know how he operates, but I feel like in Newcastle, he's there to actually veto whatever Eddie Howe is doing. So might be a different role. Might be,
Yeah.
you
This
know
is
what I'm
why I
saying?
don't want Dan Ashworth, because he doesn't fit with our mold. Because I don't think a top club should ever have a sporting director who decides every single signing. I think
No, it's not
that's
this
insane.
in Newcastle.
No,
He wasn't deciding every
yeah,
single signing.
exactly,
It
and
was
that's why
just,
he's open to leave, because he wants to decide that. That's what he
but
wants to
he's not
do.
going to be getting that at United because he's got
So
Omar
then why are
Berrada.
we getting him then?
Because he's got Omar Berrada. No, but that's what I'm telling you. So we could actually talk about favorites to get the job, right? I, for one, I I'm not British.
Mm.
I'm not too am I giddy about Dan Ashworth? No. Right? Am I if there was it was if there was somebody different with a better, maybe, um CV, maybe, because in my opinion, Brighton and the other thing, right? Go ahead.
Big up Craig Warby. Hope you're good too, my bro. Sorry about that. Big up to you. Hope you're having a good day. Oh, and I'm just saying, compost. Like, I'm not really like, to be fair, I don't have a dog in the fight when it comes to this, because at the end of the day, I'm just a fan. You know what I mean? And I feel like, even though I'm going to criticize some players that we have, or criticize some of the people we have doing things in charge somewhere, I feel at the end of the day, that's just me being critical of thinking that maybe my opinion on their actions is actual facts or may have supported information, but at the same time, like I don't really think that I'm gonna be right about it at the same time. You know what I mean? It's just an opinion. At the same time, I think that is something that we definitely need to make sure we get a proper fit. You know, because at the end of
Yeah,
the day, we can talk
but
about all the we talk. A lot of people talk about this thing where a DOF signs the players and the manager just has to coach the players.
no, no,
And
no. That was in
for me,
that's in certain clubs. That's in certain
yeah,
clubs.
that's in only small clubs,
Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned. I've
yeah,
never
that's in
seen
some.
it at a big club,
Yeah,
you know.
so yeah.
So
So, but no, but
I
Mark,
don't think it will work.
don't forget that Omer Barada as well is not just coming here to run the commercial side. He's coming here to pay attention to the football side, right? So when one says, I really don't want to run with the idea of Ashworth coming and just saying he's going to be big on making the calls for the players and all of that. No, 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 no. I really don't want to be doing that, right? But one thing I'm so skeptical about, if I have any skepticism in this Dan Ashworth thing, is the fact that, and I'm so sorry to say this, I am so sorry to say this. I mean no disrespect to anybody, especially the English fans. I mean no disrespect, but I just feel like if this guy comes, he would be paying. People tend to say don't disregard. He would be paying too much attention to the British player in our team, not the league. I'm not talking about the league. I feel like the likes of see, it's my thought, it's my opinion, it's how I feel, right? I feel like the likes of Rashford and the like other ones that we want, Luke Shaw. Some people want Luke Shaw out. Some people want Scott McTominay out. Some people want Rashford out, and I feel like they're not good. They won't be going anywhere. They won't be going anywhere. So I might be talking rubbish, right? 100%, but that's just how I feel, right? So let's just, in my opinion, let Dave decide. Dave said, okay, this is what they want to go do. But the thing I should be saying is, if, because I heard there was a clause of, okay, more than 6 million, right? And there's a 1 year notice. You have to give us a 1 year notice, right? If that's the case, yeah. If that's the case, right, then we might as well just walk away. 100%. McTominay is going nowhere.
I
It's going
mean,
nowhere. Honestly, it's going nowhere because guess what? First of all, he's um he's a youth product, just the same
mm,
way Rashford is.
exactly. These are
So
the
he's
things that I think about because I want somebody a little bit more pragmatic. You know what I
But
mean?
so so don't forget Ganache as well. They will class him as youth product, right? Maino is a youth product. So these are the, like, for me, I've said it. McTominay is not good enough to start games because sometimes you need starters to decide the game. Then you start bringing in your bench, your second best from the bench, right, to manage the game and see the game out and even do what like McTominay does. He knows how to do it. I think Ten Hag has decided to say, you know what, whenever I'm bringing McTominay in, I'm going to be taking a risk in the middle, right? Because guess what? His guy has some attacking threat. So that I'm just going to take a risk in the middle. Whoever is going to be holding or playing a single pivot, I'm going to put an instruction and say, do as much as you can to make sure and get my inverted, my fullbacks to get more inverted, right? So that yeah, so that McTominay can do what he needs to do. Ten Hag has come to terms with that, right? And I feel like we need another CDM whereby if we're going to be bringing McTominay on and we're taking the likes of Casemiro off, right? Or maybe immediately we take Casemiro off for McTominay, then we can actually switch and take Mainu if we're taking Mainu off and bring in the other CDM that we know can hold the pivot all by himself, right? With the help of the fullback. So McTominay can go do his thing. McTominay off the bench, I don't have a problem with this. Where is when he's starting
100%.
games week in, week out, that's where this
We don't want
disconnect for
that.
me. Yeah.
Big up to you, Craig Warby. Yeah, you know what, Craig? This is under the sporting director and director of football. Players going out on loan, players coming in, players being recruited. These things are all kind of basically up to him. And when I say up to him, maybe they will have what will happen. What I know from the past experiences with coaches like Pep Guardiola and top coaches like Ancelotti, they have a discussion with the DOF and sporting director, and these guys, kind of sing the same hymn sheet. You know what I mean? And when I say that, maybe Ten Hag suggests that, listen, we get rid of Maguire, McTominay, Luke Shaw, Marcus Rashford, and Dan Ashworth, and the rest, and let's say another, the sporting director at the time, and the recruitment, they'll be like, okay, we can get rid of these two guys realistically in this window, but the next two guys might take another window. You know what I mean? And then they would then decide, okay, based on who they could remove practically right now, they could bring in players to supplement that at the same time. So it gets into a more streamlined situation where Ten Hag says, I want a player like this or like that, or this particular player, and these guys already have like a list and they already know, like, okay, I can get this target in next week, I could get this target in the next days. This target might take me all summer to negotiate, and then they would say that to Ten Hag. Ten Hag would say, well, listen, maybe I have to get this one who or I can do it this one who you can get in 2 days. So get him in now and let's forget the rest and move on. You know what I mean? But let's, before we go in depth in all of that, let me just
all the things you just said now, right? All the things you just said, right? It's brilliant because now, before Mark, I'm just gonna try to not convince you, but throw something, maybe share the light somewhere for you, right? Now, when we appointed Omar Barada, you were not over the moon, but you were excited because you actually had, like, when you looked at his pedigree and looked at what he's done, you're like, okay, this is the guy that you believe, I mean, this guy can actually work, right? He can work with
Mhm.
Ten Hag and all of that and all of that. So do you think another a sporting director coming in would just break that flow between the CEO and the coach? No.
But I actually do think that there may be another sporting director might fit the club better. And let me just bring this to the table and let me show these guys the ranking of Paul Mitchell. And let's talk about what he has done and his players that he has signed. And as you can see in the picture, there's the big three that were signed by him before they were even famous. And as you know, Son Heung-min, won multiple Asian Cups with Korea. He plays in at Tottenham. We already
No,
know.
but Mark, you're not being fair here, because when you
Oh, I'm
talked
not
about
being fair.
when you talked about Ashworth's thing, you were talking about which players won anything, right? But
Yeah,
you
but none
forgot
of them has. But I'm
McAllister's
talking about.
McAllister won the World Cup, but you just mentioned
Okay,
Son winning the
okay.
AFC.
So all right, let me move Son out. Right.
Okay,
Look. Let's forget the international. Right. Let's talk
okay,
about clubs. Right.
mm-hmm,
And let's talk about Sadio Mane. He's won
mm-hmm,
two champion. He's won a Champions League with Liverpool. He's
and
won the Premier
the
League.
Premier League, yeah,
Right.
mm-hmm,
Boom. Let's move along. Right. As Manchester United continue to work towards returning to the peak of football, they've identified Paul Mitchell as a possible target to take over the recruitment process at Old Trafford. Right? To combat that, they're reportedly interested in hiring Mitchell, whose very successful record with clubs like RB Leipzig, Tottenham Hotspurs, and Southampton over the years. He has been responsible for some of the most successful transfers in those clubs' histories. As we gear towards the potential move to Old Trafford, we thought we'd bring light to some of his best work. And without further ado, right, there's Stephen Davis from Southampton. And if you know who Stephen Davis was, he was one of the top players in the league around the 2018-2019 year. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
He was very good for them. Kieran Trippier.
mm-hmm,
He found Kieran Trippier.
mm-hmm.
He also found Deli Ali now. The situation with
Yeah,
Deli
yeah,
Ali
yeah, yeah,
recently.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
when Deli Ali was breaking into the league,
yeah.
he was one of those
He
players
was
that
one of
was
those
like
players. Yeah,
sensational.
yeah.
Toby
This was
Alderweireld.
this was his time when he was at Tottenham, I believe. Yeah,
Tottenham.
yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like he have Nkunku at Leipzig. He
Mm-hmm.
also found this guy Nordi Mukiele who
Mukiele,
played. Yeah, Mukiele. He played at Eintracht Frankfurt. He won the Europa
the
League,
Europa League. Yeah.
and then he moved to RB Leipzig. He's doing pretty well there. Sadio Mane, and of course, well, Son Heung-min. Now, I'm not gonna say let's leave it. Let's keep it straight off the cuff on club football
Yo,
performance,
be-
right? And if
before you go any further, just a big up to Aro10. Big up yourself, Aro10. How are you doing today?
big up R10 in the building, big up, excuse me. Guys, and I'm gonna just drop the links in the chats for you guys. So if you guys want to check them out in your own private time, it's there. I dropped the link just now for the Dan Ashworth stuff, and now I'm dropping the link for the Paul Mitchell so you can go through the stuff, you know. And you know what? At the end of the day, I'm just questioning which one might work better, or maybe it doesn't have to be either one of them. It could be someone who's unknown. Maybe it's someone who
Honestly, I just want to wake up in the morning and just find out that it's not Dan Ashworth, it's not Permission, it's somebody else that we maybe they just gave us gave this sense to take us off what they were actually going to do behind the scene, right? So with the way what's me call it with the way if the reports are to be believed, with the way Newcastle are going to start in their 1 year notice thing, right? I might just say,
Mhm.
you know what, screw this, just go look for somebody. um just go look for somebody. Honestly, like I didn't want permission. I think Mark, I know that already. I didn't want
Yeah,
permission
yeah, I
because I'll
remember
be
you
like,
said that
yeah,
all the time.
yeah, like I don't want permission. On the other side, I'm like, I don't want Dan Ashworth too. So if I have to take, then it has to be between the two, and it has to be the lesser evil. Which to me, it will be permission, right? So yeah, if I
For
have to
me,
take between the two, that I have to go with the lesser evil. For me, it will be between permission, because permission, it's okay, let's get this right. Other than um other than the English FA, Brighton, and now Newcastle, as Dan Ashworth stepped out the boundaries of England in terms of workspace, in terms of doing this in the same capacity as Paul Mitchell has done, right? Fine, you don't need to some people will argue and say you don't need to do all of that. You just need to be good in your field and you're good. I understand that. I don't I'm not disreputing that. I'm just saying sometimes yeah, going outside, I just feel like going outside and getting a few experience, to me, that's why I would take permission, because I feel like he's been all over Europe. He was doing something in France, right? He's connect with grassroots and all of that. Ashworth has his own people that could do the grassroots work and go do the recruitment and do the scouting, all of that, right? United have that already. I'm just saying, for me, I think Pomisha will be more, in my opinion, will be more because of his I think because of his network, right? Because of his experience, I feel like we might even be getting we might even get more in terms of players to come in. We might even be getting players that we very raw, that he will be the first to pick up before even Ashworth. Because
you know,
don't forget United. Sorry to cut you. Don't forget United scouts were the one that picked up Caicedo, and we passed out on him because we
bro,
didn't
we
want to pay
passed
five.
on Enzo Fernandez. I just
Enzo
wanted to
because we
highlight who we passed
so
on in the
so
last two
it's
seasons.
not so if we actually, I think we just need a sporting director just for the figurehead, just to be, because United have the people that can actually do the groundwork. They
Exactly.
just need somebody to speak, not the likes of the motor that will just trash them and just go to Turin, go to Barcelona, go to Qatar, don't even come back with a Valentine flower for their missus, just come back empty handed. You understand? So I feel like United have people that can do the groundwork. We just need somebody they can report to and take them serious and take them,
Exactly.
people that can,
This this
people.
is the thing that I think a lot of fans have misunderstood over the last season and a half. A lot of fans blame the scouts and say the scouts is a problem. But I'd like to highlight to fans that United have the largest scouting network in world football. And I would also highlight to fans that some of the scouts that scout for United hire other scouts, and those other scouts are sometimes the ones that are employed directly by, let's say, like a Man City, a Liverpool, an Arsenal. Because you know what? Manchester United invented scouting worldwide in English football. So if people sometimes blame a lot on the scouts, but when the scouting department discovering the likes of Enzo Fernandez, you know, Moises Caicedo. This guy Martinelli, he was discovered by United scouts. He was at United training for like 6 months before we decided, he's not good enough. You know what I mean? There's lots of other guys, even this guy who was picked up by PSG recently. Look at Marcos Leonardo, who was picked up by Benfica. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? All these guys found by scouting. Look at Oscar Zambrano. Before United scouted him, no one spoke about him. Look at Benjamin Sesko. As soon as United wanted him, They sold him to Leipzig immediately. There's lots of players that this happened to. And people suddenly say, well, look at Julian Alvarez. Julian Alvarez
Hmm.
was headed to Manchester United. The scouts brought him to United, and United say, you know what? We're not going to sign him. And then you know what?
Let
City suddenly signed him.
me
So
let me
it's one
answer
of
this. Let me answer this small question here. You say why Paul Mitchell never made it to a huge club yet? That's see confused and everybody listening. Remember when I said it's for me. I didn't want Paul Mitchell. I've stated it already, and I don't want now. I don't want Dan Ashford, but now this is the reason why I didn't want Paul Mitchell. What exactly you just said, Compose. That's the reason why I never like. I'm like, yo, man, this guy his work should be speaking for him. His work should be actually selling him out, right? In terms of yeah, but nobody
yeah,
has
but
actually gone. No, I'm just saying you cannot base what I'm thinking. This
no, no,
thing
no,
that
no. I'm not disagreed with you, but I
what
just wanted
Smurf
to.
is saying, you can't base it on, you can't really put it down as a concrete argument. You can actually
Yeah,
hold on to
true.
it in terms of argument, right? But you can't base it as a concrete argument and run with it, right? There might be reasons in what we're expecting in terms of bigger clubs snatching it up, right? But that was the reason why I kept having this I kept holding back in terms of mission. I'm like, yo, this guy is good, but nobody, not big guy, not So that was the reason why I kept holding on to, like, I don't think. But when Ragnick was here and there was this connection between himself and Ragnick, and there was hope that okay, Ragnick is going to see the consultancy role and all of that. I think one of the reasons why they even kicked Ragnick out, if I'm going to be honest, is the fact that if Ragnick has gone in consultancy, I'm thinking he would have talked to a few persons at the hierarchy level and say, you know what, get Michel at the DOF. That automatically knocks Moto out of job. And Moto, so that's just my theory. And Moto is not having any
True,
of
I
that.
agree with that theory
Moto
because
is not going to be having any of that. So he might as well, you know what, before this
I
guy comes take food off my mouth, let me just get him off. And, so
yeah,
it could run deep like that, but it's just my own crazy theory.
yeah, and like I'm just gonna say this right about the question that Campos said. With the guys, he's never been snapped up by a big club. You know what? Maybe you could look at it in that way, but you could also look at it from this perspective, Campos. Ralph Ragnick thinks very highly of this guy, Paul Mitchell. Why?
Yeah, yeah,
You ever wondered why some people are successful while there are people who are more talented and more hardworking than them that aren't as successful?
yeah, yeah, true.
Sometimes
100.
sometimes people don't want to see you successful. Sometimes they don't want to give this guy a chance. Maybe those big clubs will offer him small roles in the club. And his
True.
dream is to be a DOF. And because he's not getting offered the DF role, he's not accepting any role. You know what I mean? That could be one of the cases as well. Maybe it could be down to his bad luck. I'm not trying to make an excuse for the guy, but big up
Oh
to
yeah,
your
yeah.
opinion. And I'm not
You have
disagreeing with you either, Campos.
no, no,
I'm
no.
just
But
saying
what you're saying could be, it could be that the man is actually aiming high because Omar Berada left the COO of the City Group to become the CEO of
of
United.
Manchester United.
So in his eyes, he's always wanted to be the CEO, right? Now, but remember I stated earlier that I see Dan Ashworth as someone that would want to be a CEO. If that guy ends up being a director of football for United, trust me, when there's a CEO job opening in one of these other clubs, he's going to be looking to take it because he's so maybe you could be right because it's all crazy theory at the moment. You're right. You could be right and say, okay, this man has set his eyes on the director of football, maybe director of football at the state, but and maybe from there climb. But that's that right there. That line small from talked about not big club not snatching him up. That was the reason why for me. I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's lame on my part, but that was the reason. But now looking at the both of them, the lesser evil, I'm around with Michel and take Michel
Yeah, I
any
mean,
day,
and to be
anytime.
fair, guys, I was thinking more along the lines of, the City Group has over 15 clubs worldwide, part of their community. Why? Who's to say it's not going to be some unknown guy from one of the group, from one of those clubs that Omar already had words with and say, "Yo,
No, but
I'm getting an upgrade.
but
I'm
but the
taking you with
report
me." You know
the
what I
report
mean?
the report is Dan Ashworth is INEOS or Trawlers Group preferred, and it's been out there, so they wouldn't want to. The only way I don't see this happening is Newcastle. If Newcastle puts their foot down and says, We ain't having you're gonna give us 10M and you're still gonna give us the 1 year or 6 months notice, then I don't see it happening. I
Well,
don't
you
see it
see,
happening.
the reason why I might slightly disagree with that last comment of yours is that we hired a CEO, and the CEO is reputable with lots of experience. And if people, I will post some articles tomorrow during my morning stream. It's gonna be a late one, guys. I'm gonna do the stream at midday, probably around 11 a.m. UK time, 11:30. That's when I'm gonna drop that stream. I will drop the link for Omar Barada and his entire profile, what he did at the different clubs he was at before joining the City Group, including some of his work at Barcelona and La Masia, because he's very good with young talent.
Hmm.
And I would like everyone to check that article out because it might give you a little bit of insight as to the kind of character Omar Barada is. He's a very strong-willed person. He has this, how should I put it? It's like a effervescent love and vibrance for football and footballing ability, and players who are not only great with the football but have a strong mentality to want to win.
Hmm.
So for me, I don't. If you look at some of the signings made by Barcelona, not
Hmm.
only Barcelona but different clubs in the City Group, it will also give you a little bit of shaping to how he looks at the players he signs. Now, and I'm only saying this because some of the players aren't squeaky clean. Like that top striker that they have at Girona, this guy has had a checkered past, as well as Marcos Alonso, who was brought through the academy as a
Hmm.
youngster by Omar Barada.
No,
You know
but
what I mean?
who's got the coach that doesn't like we have the coach, right, that like that don't have the he's not keen on big stars. He makes stars, you
Yeah, well, I
know.
mean, I wouldn't say
So
he's
it
not
would
keen on big
no, I'm
stars,
not. What I
really.
mean like that, if you give him a player that fits the profile of what he wants, right? If that person ends up being a star player, like you go buy the star player and it fits the profile the manager wants, he's gonna take it. But
Exactly.
if you don't get that star player, but you get a player in the mode that has the attributes and can actually grow into the attribute that the manager wants, he's gonna work with it.
Exactly. You've
So
seen it with Kobe
so
Manu.
but want to just be on Ashworth's side at the moment for now, like with what I'm gonna say is, could it also be that Ashworth is coming in because now there's a CEO that he thinks has pedigree, right? Because don't forget, in that space, they all know themselves. They all know who's class and who's not.
True.
So he
True.
sees Omar Barada as the CEO. He's like, oh damn, I have to go in there because that guy will make my job much easier.
True. I agree with that. But
So
this is
it could be a case of coming in. There's an Omar Barada, there's himself, and also there's a Ten Hag, right? Who he thinks okay is good enough, right? So he might be coming and be like, you know what, my job is almost done here. I'm just coming here. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if a CEO job opening for another club opens up and he's taking it maybe 2, 3, or 4 years from now, or 3 years from now. I won't be surprised, right? And he will make a recommendation for us for someone else as the director of football. I won't be surprised because I see him as someone that's aiming for that spot, right? But it
true.
could just be that he's coming in and because of what's in place, he's like, you know what, this is the right time. Because don't forget, he's been like we read in that report somewhere in 2012 he was actually asked to come in, but he
20,
didn't.
2019.
2019 he turned it down, right? Because at that time he figured that the club was in serious Johnson joke mood and it was not going to dent his image. So
Yeah,
fair
you
play
probably
to
didn't
him.
like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, to be fair.
So
I mean,
fair play to
fair
him.
play to him. I
We
mean,
just hope that.
I'm not against the guy. I'm just saying, like, from what I'm seeing, like, okay, from what I'm hearing, it sounds to me like he's supposedly the best it has in the business. When, from my perspective, if Man City is a cut above everyone else in the league, if he was the best in the business, he would be at City. You know what I mean? So this is the big, how should I put it? This is the big question mark for me. Like, if he is the best, why is he not on the City Group? Why wasn't
But
he
don't,
offered a job at the City Group?
no, but don't forget, Mark, that you could have. The best in
No, I mean,
class.
I'm just asking the same question as people would ask of Paul Mitchell. Why
Oh
hasn't the
yeah,
big clubs
yeah,
gone
yeah,
into him?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just
Yeah,
that,
but
simply that.
yeah.
I'm not saying that that's he's not the best. I'm not
Everybody
saying
have their
that.
pathway. You actually stated everybody have their pathway. It could be that he's has people or friends that are in the corridor of power, right? Right,
Mhm,
and they made his pathway to all of these places easier for him as compared to the other guys, right? But
probably.
yeah, but in this world, you just don't have just one best in class. You have a lot of them.
You
So
have a lot.
so you
Exactly.
have to pick and you just have to go there. And if you decide, if like I'm going to wrap my own talk about Ashworth now, if you decide it's Ashworth, then go with it and make sure you give him all he needs to perform and to work in his office. That's all. Don't just employ somebody in the office and restrict them and say, oh, you could work magic. No, we've seen that happen with managers at United.
We've seen it
I
with
we've
Ralph
Yeah, we don't
and
want we
Ten
don't
Hag.
we don't want to see that. We want a situation where these guys are given liberty to work in the office, not just overrule the club,
Yeah,
but
they
work
need to
in
be
the
able to
office.
do what they need
In
to
the
do.
office, yes, in the office that you've employed them for, right? So don't constrain them, don't restrict them, and don't undermine them. Let them do their job. Let everybody do their job. At the end of the day, if everybody's happy and
Empower them to do what they must. That's
they
what I'm
must. That's
saying.
all. Yeah.
You know what? And this is why I'm like Craig. I'm thinking I would like Barada to be the main deciding factor on who comes in as sporting director, head of recruitment, because this is his team. At the end of the day, he's the CEO, he's the head
But
of that triangle.
we
They
have to
need to
wait and
fit
see.
what he wants to do.
We
Because
have to
I
wait
feel
and
like
see.
one guy should lead and the others should work with him. You know what I mean? I don't think we should have two guys with two different ideas on how to do the same thing. I think that's going to make it chaotic. This is why I'm like, yeah, when I heard the initial idea of both Ashworth and Mitchell, I was like, yo,
That's
that's
not gonna work.
conflicting.
That's
These
not
two
gonna work.
guys seem
That
like
is not gonna
opposite
work.
sides of the spectrum for me. They don't even see. Yeah,
Even if they're on the same, even if they work in alignment, right? One person would actually be on the spotlight. The other person would just be in the shadows. And you
100%.
I don't think either of them wants to be.
Worst off, I feel like they will contradict each other. I feel like if you look
So
at
yeah.
them, if you look at their character from the posture in their pictures, they seem like opposite sides. One seems relaxed and the other seems like I need to be that guy. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So for me, it's like clashing of ideologies. So I'm looking forward to see what happens, how it progresses, whether it be Ashford, whether it be Paul Mitchell. If it's an unknown guy, I think I pretty much enjoy an unknown guy. Just like if everyone was thinking, who's the next CEO? Was it Blanc? Was it this one? And then boom, we got Omar Barada. This is what I would like. I would be even more excited if it's someone that I did not expect, to be honest, and someone who was not being touted by anyone in the media. Worst off, I think best of all, I would be mostly excited if he was unknown
I will be too. I will be. I will
because
be.
then no one can say, well, we know how he works or we
Hmm.
can predict that he's going to do X, Y, and Z. Let him be
Hmm.
like a wild card and make
Hmm.
some decisions and let's all be shocked in the summer like, okay, let's see what this is going to bring now because we never expect these kind of things. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So yeah, like I think it's a positive step in the direction that we want to be going in. I feel like this season we've seen very very slow incremental progress in the team's progression in terms of patterns of play, sustainable attacks, more compact defending, a more organized midfield, the strike force finding that rhythm between themselves, and it's been taking a long time. I feel like the preseason lasted until December. You know what I mean? When it should have
Hmm.
finished in September. But at the
Hmm.
same time, slow and steady progress. Wins are fast on shaky ground any day.
Hmm.
In my
Hmm.
honest opinion, it might have been too slow for most fans, but I was always looking at it like second season of a rebuild. It's not going to be that great, but we should see some things. And yeah, I'm disappointed that we're not actually already in top four, but at the same time, it's a rebuild. So for me, there's going to be inconsistency. There's going to be bad games. There's going to be good games. And like I always said to you, my bro, I
Yeah.
always thought we are going to lose about 10 games this season in the Premier League alone. So, I'm still about above break even in my honest opinion with my
You
assessment
if,
so far.
As long as we make top four, I don't care.
And even if we, to be honest, if we had made fifth, if we got fifth, I
Hmm.
still don't care
As
because
long
I
as,
believe that the three biggest things that affected our season that has nothing to do with the manager is
Mhm.
the protesting of Mason Greenwood out of the club, the forced suspension of Anthony, Jadon Sancho deciding he doesn't want to play for United anymore, and last but not least, a takeover that never finished still
Oh,
has been
that
right that
takeover was
stopped all the
just
progress.
that takeover was just too much
I
time.
feel like there were too many instances this season, and I haven't even mentioned the fact that we started the season with 16 players injured and another 8 temporary injuries and other players that were already playing on the field with niggling injuries. I feel like any other manager could be Pep, Klopp, Arteta, Nagelsmann, it could be Luis Enrique. You drop them in that same situation,
Oh man, it's gonna be
I think
problem.
we'd probably be 10th like
You
Chelsea all season.
you see Lopetegui. Lopetegui got to Wolves and they sold two players, and the man was like, "Hell no, I ain't doing this. I'm out." Like
I'm
he
out.
left. Like
I'm
so,
out.
like what Compos is saying here. ETA Erik ten Hag has been here nearly 2 years, and the rebuild hasn't started yet. We sold next to nobody, and once this is something which I actually think about. I'm like, yo, man, this guy has been here almost 2 years, and we haven't even. We still have players from way back. Louis Van Gaal, Jose Mourinho. We haven't moved anybody yet. We're in my opinion, I stand to be corrected. In my opinion, I feel like we're moving some of these young players out on loan and we're not seeing the likes of Ahmad and the rest because the squad is so tight that the manager has been forced to make do with some certain players. That does the manager have his own fault? Yes, but I feel like the club hasn't set themselves well to
To say,
actually
you know what I mean? I feel
to
like if
actually
we hadn't put everything in right,
in
like
players before we got yeah.
from my perspective, we brought a manager who we know was successful with a proper structure behind him.
And
And we
we
brought him
didn't
into a
create anything,
situation with no structure
no structure,
and
and
expect him to do the same wonders he was doing there. And now, while I will say he could probably have done a little better job in bringing the style of play into fruition. Maybe he should have started last season. Maybe he should have been more focused on that last season and
no,
just
no, no,
getting results.
but do you know where we got? Do you know where we're coming from last season? We're coming
Yeah,
from
we're
a
coming from
season,
sixth. We're coming from sixth, but understand, I'm just saying based on what everyone
but
says.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Everyone says we should have started this style of play last season. Everyone is saying that it shouldn't take more than 6 months to establish a style of play. But you see, like the funny thing for me with football is we could look at other teams, but how could you realistically compare yourself to other team? One, there's no other team in the Premier League that faces the same media attention, pressure,
mm-hmm,
and need to win
mm-hmm,
as Manchester United, right? There's no other team in the Premier League, right, that has players for 5 managers previously,
mm-hmm,
right? There's no other team in the Premier League that
mm-hmm,
stadium is sell out on an average of 72,000 every single match week we have a home game,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
So this is something that you have to look at. Listen, Pep went to City. Before Pep got to City, Pellegrini and City already built a squad with players that fit Pep profile for him. So he wasn't
mm-hmm,
going into City having to change the profile of the entire team, change the style of play of the entire team. They were already a ball playing team. They probably
mm-hmm.
wasn't playing the ball out from the back as much, but they were
Yeah,
all capable of such.
playing, yeah,
It's the
yeah,
same thing when you look at the team that we call an Ange Ball Spurs. All the players were on the fringes last season were because they were expansive type profile
yeah,
players.
yeah, yeah.
They could not play that counter attack style under Conte. This is why
No,
they were on the fringes to be sold. Now, flip, you see the scene 1 year, the players who were starters are being sold and on the fringes.
mm-hmm,
The players who are on the fringes are now the starters and they are playing a system that suits them. So for me, it's different. Plus, if you look at Tottenham, they have world class facilities, a brand new stadium. You know, they have a whole atmosphere geared towards if they had a good coach that fit their player style or system, they would be doing bits,
mm-hmm,
right? Look at Arsenal. The last 4 years, Arsenal has not won a single trophy. The first half season Arteta was there, yes, he won the FA Cup. 4 years since, nothing. Right? Same thing with Klopp. First 4 years, he's won nothing. Then after he won a league title, right? And everybody's like,
Yeah.
compare us to Liverpool. Why? Klopp has
No, no,
been
no.
coaching a system into this team and academy for 7 seasons. No, actually, is what? Is eight.
Because this is his ninth, though.
Nine for 8 seasons already. Nine up, almost nine. Pep 7 seasons at Man City. So when people tell me about look at the academy, look at how players come on as a substitute in Man City. Well, it's obvious most of them been playing that system for more than 2 to 3 seasons already as a backup, as a substitute in training, not
Mm-hmm.
even as a starter. So they know the system by the back of their hands. Look at Jack Grealish. He was bought for £105 million, hadn't played a game for nine months. He played 7 games that season. Flop. He didn't really do anything. He had 2 assists, 3 goals all season. 105 million. He had a good 3 months last season. He's been injured for the rest,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just played his third or fourth game for this entire season
Mm-hmm.
as a starter yesterday.
Amen.
So this is my thing. When we criticize our manager that we have, just remember, guys, we all wanted Eric Ten Hag. We did not want Poch. We did not want Luis Enrique. We didn't want Nagelsmann. We wanted Eric Ten Hag. We have Eric Ten Hag. Now, it's true Eric Ten Hag has made some decisions that some of us might not be able to sit with and might disagree with. I myself disagree with some of his opinions, but at the end of the day, I don't know, but for some reason, I just see a Manchester vibe in this manager. And for me, for the longest while, I haven't seen a coach that give me that feeling that he know what Manchester is about, right? And now, while he might not be going about it in a way that I find cool, or his body language and charisma is not at the English speaking top tier level as I would expect, so he could calibrate himself and make a joke like I am used to. You know what I mean? He has shown that, you know what, he's a guy straightforward and about his business, right? He don't make excuses. He has not made any excuses about injuries or anything in the team until they asked him questions about his squad being bolstered in January. And then
Mm-hmm.
he said, listen, my players are coming back from injury. We have decided that we don't need to bring anyone in. When these guys come back, it will be like new signings, so I'll be good. You know what I mean? I have reinforcements already. Imagine 5.5 months, he's never made an excuse, never blamed injuries, never blamed anything. Go back and check all his manager press conferences, guys. The only time he started talking about injuries was in December, right before the transfer window was to open. Never blamed it on anything else. He talked about the patterns of play and having to adjust and change, but that's be normal because if you look at other teams like Man City, they suffered when they were without Rodri and De Bruyne. They lost 4 games, 3 in a row. Spurs missed a few players based on red cards.
Mm-hmm.
They lost 4 games in a row as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like one of those things for me when we look at Manchester United and we keep making these heavily difficult criticisms, like, who would we take in our team? Who would start? Which Manchester United player would start at Arsenal?
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, I don't care for all of that because I don't look at Arsenal players and be like, I wish they was in my squad. I don't look at City players and be like, I wish they was in my squad. Frankly, from the time a player signed for Arsenal, City, or Liverpool, I never want to see them in a Man United shirt. I don't care how good they are.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I will get a player from somewhere, sometime, maybe in the next year, that will outdo those guys. This is what I think. You know why? Because you know what? Manchester United have in my opinion, rivals must always be rivals. Ain't
100.
no rival going to talk to me neutrally about my team or give me an objective opinion about my team. Especially because my team is Manchester United. And when I say that,
True.
it's because, Manchester United had all these rivals my age who are football fans on their knees for over 2 decades, winning all the titles, all the trophies. getting all the plaudits. We are the most famous club in English football history. Everyone hates us. Referees, down to the teams who fight in relegation that don't really play us often, hate
Hmm.
us. You know what I mean? So why the media hate us? They say it outright. They love to see us lose. They love to see us in chaos and disarray because it sells their papers. Why should we trust these guys? We should be trusting ourselves and the other Manchester United fans. And we should not be listening. We should have tunnel vision and focus on our team and focus on what's going on with us and us
Hmm.
only. Guys, I'm going to let Drex close the show. Thank you for joining us. We really initially planned to have a 30-minute show, quick, short, and fast. But when we get together, it's be a happy time, a good time. We have a good time. And especially with you guys in the chat, it's always be fun. So, Drex, any last
No,
opinion, advice?
we just have to take it with an open mind, right? We just have to. We've been crying for structure, and we seem to be getting them, and not just getting them. INEOS and the Trawlers Group are actually looking to get everything as quick as possible. PL is done. What's we call it? Premier League rectification is done. FA rectification is done. We just need to start moving things quickly. We've cried for this. We as fans have been screaming for things. We've cried the Glazers out, right? But also we said these guys are clueless. They should bring us structure, and we got somebody in Ratcliffe that's going to give us the structure. 25% or 29% wasn't the deal. We wanted a full sale, but guess what? We're going to take what we offered as long as it's positive, as long as it's not detrimental to anybody. We take it and hope for the best. That's all I have to say. Take it and hope for the best. It's the club we love, the club we love, and the people that are quoted to be in charge at the moment are actually doing what we as fans. It's not something magical they're doing. They're not doing anything sensational. They're just doing what we as fans, you and I, we've always been clamoring for and been screaming for. That's what they are doing. It's not anything new. It's not out of the books. They didn't just pull up all of a sudden. No. We've been saying United needs structure, and these guys are just coming to do what we've been saying. So it's nothing magical. It's nothing sensational. It's just that what we've been saying, somebody has listened and they're about to do it. And we should just be
100%.
hopeful for that. That's all I have to say.
Guys, big up to all of you. GB, I'm waiting for that American clock. Make it a American Swiss one, maybe with an army knife on it.
Yeah.
I
I
need those things.
also want to use this opportunity to just reach out to those people that are actually undergoing Lent at the moment. I know it's Lent season already. So, guys, be strong. Just take it. I know some of them don't eat meat and all of that. Yeah. Just I wish you all a pleasant Lent season until the Easter. Be strong. Do good deeds. Give alms, like what my friend told me. Do good deeds. And yeah, that's all. I just want to wish you all strength. Pray for
Bro,
strength for you
you
all.
just did me right there. You just reminded me I'm not supposed to be eating meat. And
Okay.
I ate a burger tonight, at dinner. So now I feel terrible. Thanks for that one, bro. Have a good one. Thank you. Big up to you, Compost Smurf. Big up to you, Stephanie G, the MVP of the Man United YouTube. Big up to Kenny Fan TV, bro. I'm definitely gonna get back at John Morgan for you. You don't be worried about that. I got you covered, my bro. I'm gonna let him have the big time very soon. All right, big up to you. Big up to Compost Smurf for coming in. Big up to Craig Warby. Thank you, my bro, for joining the stream and spending so much time with us tonight. Do check out the links that I left in the description for more information on Dan Ashworth and Paul Mitchell. Big up to you, R10. Thank you for showing up. It's always good to have you guys in our company. You guys make the show. Without you guys, we would have none to talk about and no one to be talking to. So thank you all for joining us tonight. I hope you all have a great night. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you. Vielen Valentinstag is the Deutsch version for what's Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day to all of you. I hope you all spent it with your loved ones, had a great time. Thank you for the comments. Leave a comments. Let us know if you have change of mind, change of opinions, or any other things that you might want to suggest we should be covering. Leave it in the non-live section. Don't forget to give us a share on Twitter maybe even on Facebook. And don't forget to check out D Hub Sports TV. This guy is about to hit 100. I think he's on 83 subs right now, and he needs 17 more. Let's get him to 100 by the end of the week. Maybe we could announce that on Happy Hour this Friday with Poppy.
Hmm.
And guys, the predictions is coming. I've already done the new table with the match selections for this week. And tomorrow, Poppy will be posting on the community page with all the match fixtures in a nice collected picture that you all could just look at and then pop your scores in at the bottom. So, guys, thank you for joining us. Hope you have a great evening. And for those in the USA, you have a long evening yet ahead. Mine is about to be finished
Big up,
because it's 2
Stephanie.
a.m. here in Germany, Deutschland, as everyone knows. Big up to my buddy Drex. He always has my back no matter
Big
what
up,
time
man.
I call him. This guy is ready. Thank you so much, my bro. I hope you have a great night.
Anytime. You too,
Tell
man.
the fam I said hi. Big up. Sorry for taking you so long and talking so much, bro. But we said half
Yeah,
an hour and
yeah.
10 minutes. You guys were the stars anyway of the chat. Thank you for joining us, and we're out, guys. See you all tomorrow.